I spent 4 years behind the counter at a sporting goods store, and I can tell you the exact second a trail camera sale goes wrong. It isn't when the guy picks the camera off the wall. It's about 90 seconds later. He's standing there, holding a $120 box, feeling good about it, already picturing the buck that's going to walk past it. And I have to tell him the part that is not printed anywhere on that box. That box is the cheap part. The camera in his hands is going to cost him more in fees before this season is even over than he just paid for the camera itself. And here's the part that used to make grown men go quiet at my register. Those fees do not stop when the season does. The deer go nocturnal, you pull most of your gear, the woods go dead in February, and the camera keeps billing. Month after month, for a camera sitting in a tote in your garage, photographing the inside of a plastic lid. I want to show you something today that the entire industry has gotten very, very good at hiding in plain sight. By the end of this, I'm going to show you the one plan that is quietly the worst trap in the whole category. The one you absolutely cannot get out of once you're in it. I'm going to show you the exact number that the camera companies do not want you adding up. The one that turns a cheap hobby into a $1,000 a year subscription you never agreed to. And I'm going to show you the 3 ways to make sure you never pay a single dollar in the off-season again. Stay with me, because the third one is the one nobody tells you about, and it's the one that actually works. But first, I need you to understand something, because if you walk away from this thinking one company is the bad guy, you've missed the whole thing. This is not one greedy brand. This is not bad luck. What happened to trail cameras over the last 5 years was a deliberate, coordinated business decision made across an entire industry to stop selling you a product and start renting you one. And once you see how the machine is built, you cannot unsee it. You'll walk into any outdoor store, look at that wall of cameras, and you'll see exactly what I see. A rack of little plastic boxes that are no longer the product. You are the product. The camera is just the hook they set in your wallet. Let me start where the trap starts, which is the price tag, because the price tag is bait. Walk into a store today, and the cellular trail cameras start cheap, genuinely cheap. You'll find name brand cellular cameras under $100 on sale, well-known models hovering right around $120. And your brain does exactly what it's supposed to do. It compares that to what trail cameras used to cost, sees a deal, and reaches for the wallet. That low price is not an accident, and it is not generosity. In the old world, the camera was the product, so the camera had to carry the whole profit. In this new world, the camera is a customer acquisition cost. They will practically give you the hardware because the hardware is just the turnstile. The money is on the other side of it, and it comes in every single month. Here's how it actually works, and I'm going to use real, current numbers, because this is where it stops being a feeling and starts being math. Take the most popular cellular brand in the country. The camera is around $120. To actually get photos sent to your phone, which is the entire reason you bought a cellular camera in the first place, you need a photo plan. Their unlimited plan runs $15 a month if you pay month to month. $15 doesn't sound like anything. It's a sandwich. But $15 a month is $180 a year. Sit with that for 1 second. The data plan in year 1 costs you $60 more than the camera did. You did not buy a camera. You bought a year-long subscription, and they threw in a camera to get you to sign. And that's one camera. Nobody serious runs one camera. This is where the whole thing detonates, and it's the number I promised you the industry doesn't want you to add up, because they price these things per camera. Every single camera you put in the woods is its own line item, its own monthly charge, its own little meter running. Run 4 cameras, which is nothing. That's a casual hunter on a small lease, and you're paying for 4 plans. Run 8, which is a normal number for somebody actually managing a property, and the math turns into something that should make you put the box down. Let me give you the real figures. On one major brand, the unlimited plan is $13 a month for your first camera and $12 a month for every camera after that. 8 cameras. That's the first one at $13, plus 7 more at $12. Run that out. That is roughly $97 a month, every month. That's almost $1,200 a year in fees to photograph deer on your own property. Another major brand's professional plan lands in the same neighborhood, about $35 for the first camera and $8 for each one after, which on 8 cameras is right around $90 a month. Call it $1,100 a year. And I want to be completely fair here, because I told you at the start I wasn't going to lie to you to make a point. You do not have to take my word that these plans run that high. One of these companies says it on their own website. In their own blog, explaining their own pricing, they flatly admit that a full setup on their unlimited plan can run, and I'm quoting the spirit of it exactly, about $1,000 annually. That's not a critic saying that. That's not me saying that. That's the manufacturer, in writing, telling you that running their cameras the way a serious hunter runs them costs $1,000 a year. They just say it quietly, on a page you'll never find, instead of on the box you actually buy. So let's put the real number on the table. You think you're a guy who spent $800 on cameras. You're actually a guy who signed up for a $1,000 a year subscription, indefinitely, for as long as you want to keep seeing your own photos. Over 3 years, those 8 cameras have cost you more than $3,000 in fees alone, on top of the hardware, on top of the batteries, on top of everything. Over 5 years, you're pushing $5,000, $6,000 for trail cameras. And at the end of it, you own nothing but a pile of aging plastic boxes that are worthless the second you stop paying. Compare that to the camera this whole industry is quietly trying to kill, the plain SD card camera. You buy it once, you walk out to it, you pull the card, you walk back. It costs you nothing, not $5, not $15, not ever. There's a guy on one of the hunting forums who put it better than I can. He said he'd honestly be better served buying 4 times as many regular cameras than running the cellular ones with their subscription plans, 4 times the coverage, for less money, forever. He's not wrong. He's just fighting against an entire industry that has decided that the camera you buy once and never pay for again is exactly the camera they don't want to sell you anymore. And that's not me being cynical. That's the documented strategy. Stay with me, because this is the reveal that ties the whole thing together. If you go and read what the market analysts write about this category, the people who study it for the companies, not for you, they don't hide it. They celebrate it. Back in 2020, cellular cameras were about 22% of all trail cameras shipped. By 2024, that number had jumped to 42%. In 4 years, the industry nearly doubled the share of cameras that come with a monthly bill attached. And the analysts say out loud exactly why. They talk about cellular cameras generating, in their words, recurring revenue streams to supplement the old hardware sales. They talk about the customer retention benefits of ecosystem lock-in. Read that again. Lock-in. That's the goal, not a better camera. Lock-in. They count it up. There are well over 900,000 active camera subscriptions out there right now, each one paying $5 to $15 a month. And for some of the leading brands, the subscription service now makes up as much as a quarter of their entire revenue. A quarter. And the churn, the percentage of people who actually quit and stop paying, sits below 5% a year. Below 5%. Now, think about what that low churn number really means, because it's the whole game. It does not mean the customers are thrilled. It means they're stuck. It means that once you're in the ecosystem, once your cameras only talk to their app, once your photos only live on their cloud, once your whole setup is wired to a brand, you don't leave. You can't, easily. You just keep paying. The industry took the most American thing in the world, a guy and a camera in the woods, and turned it into a software subscription with a deer in front of it. They SaaS-ified deer hunting. That's the reveal. The camera was never the product. The recurring bill is the product, and it always was. And here's where ownership comes in, because people always ask me, who's behind this? Is it all one company? And the honest answer is more interesting than a conspiracy. It's not one company. It's a pattern that everybody adopted at once because it works. One of the biggest names in the space is owned by a giant private equity firm that bought the whole outdoor conglomerate in 2024. The kind of firm that manages tens of billions of dollars and buys companies specifically to find revenue streams exactly like a monthly camera fee. Another huge brand is owned by a large, privately held industrial corporation through its outdoor division. And the most popular cellular brand of all isn't owned by any American conglomerate at all. It's an independent company up in Quebec that figured this model out early and rode it from a regional player to nearly 1 million devices sold worldwide. Different owners, different countries, different boardrooms, all running the identical playbook. Cheap hardware, monthly fees, ecosystem lock-in. When everybody in an industry independently arrives at the same trick, that's not a coincidence. That's just where the money is, and they all followed it to the same place, your bank account, on a recurring basis. Now, I told you there was one plan that's the worst trap in the category, the one you cannot get out of once you're in. Here it is, and this is the one I'd tattoo on the back of every new hunter's hand if I could. It's the annual plan. On the surface, the annual plan looks like the smart guy's move. Pay for the year up front, get the monthly rate knocked down a few bucks, feel clever about it. That $15 plan becomes $10 if you pay annually. Looks like a deal. It's the most expensive mistake in the category, and I'll show you why with the company's own words. Because here's what they don't put in the checkout flow. The monthly plans, you can pause those. When the season ends, you can go into the app, suspend the camera, stop the billing, and turn it back on in the fall. Not every brand makes it easy, but on the monthly plans it's possible. The annual plan, you cannot pause it. And I'm not guessing. One of the major brands says this directly in their own support documentation. They tell you, in writing, do not use the suspend feature if you're on a yearly plan because you've already paid for the entire year up front. You've already paid. There's nothing to pause. You bought 12 months of service for a hunting season that, for most people, lasts 3 or 4. You're paying for August through July to watch deer that you're hunting from October to January. The other 8 months, that money is just gone, spent on a camera sending photos of an empty food plot to an app you're not even checking. There's a hunter on Archery Talk who said it as plainly as anyone ever has. He warned people, do not get the yearly plan unless you are absolutely certain it's what you want, because it cannot be undone. It cannot be undone. That's a guy who learned it the hard way telling you, so you don't have to. Once that annual charge hits, there's no pause, and good luck on the refund. And I have to be honest with you about something else, because this is where it crosses from aggressive pricing into something that's made a lot of hunters genuinely angry. And you deserve to hear it, even though I'm going to be careful about how I say it. If you go read the reviews, the public complaint sites, the consumer review boards, the places where people go when they're furious, you will find the same story told over and over again by different people. People reporting that they canceled and got charged anyway. People saying they canceled months ago and the bills kept coming. One person describing returning the cameras, asking to cancel, and getting charged weeks later, then calling the support line and nobody picking up. Another saying the company discontinued their camera entirely, sunsetted it, made it stop working, and kept billing them for it anyway. 10 months of charges for a device that couldn't even turn on. There's even one about a camera that ended up in police custody as evidence, and the company kept charging the guy a monthly fee for a camera he didn't physically have anymore. Now, I'm not a court, and I can't tell you that every one of those stories is exactly as the person tells it. These are complaints. They're one side. The companies would tell you it's user error, that the customer didn't cancel correctly, that they canceled the app but not the billing. And maybe sometimes that's true. But here's the thing, and this is the part that matters. When a system is designed so that the easiest path is to keep paying and the hardest path is to stop, you are going to get exactly this. You're going to get a pile of people who thought they canceled and didn't, because the camera lived in an app, the billing lived on a website, and turning off one didn't turn off the other. Whether you call that a scam or just a design that happens to be extremely profitable when customers get confused, the outcome on your credit card statement is identical. The money leaves, and the burden to stop it is always, always on you. And right here is the moment I have to stop and ask you something, because if this video saves one person from that $1,000 surprise, it's done its job, and I can't do that without you. If you've ever been charged for a camera you weren't using, or you got stuck in one of these plans, do me a favor and drop it in the comments. Tell me the brand. Tell me what happened. Not for me. For the next guy who's standing at that counter holding the cheap box, about to make the same mistake. Who's going to find this video first because you took 10 seconds to leave a comment? That's the whole reason this channel exists. We watch this stuff so you don't get burned. So if that's you, say so below. It genuinely helps somebody. Okay. Let me complicate this honestly, because I promised you I'd be fair, and there's a real argument on the other side that you need to hear. The cellular data actually does cost money, that's true. Your trail camera is, functionally, a tiny cheap cell phone sitting on a tree, and every photo it sends rides over a real cellular network, the same companies you pay for your own phone. Somebody has to pay the carrier for that data, and that somebody is you. The companies aren't inventing the cost out of nothing, and the convenience is real too. I won't pretend it isn't. The analysts found that something like 3 out of 4 cellular camera users report being significantly more satisfied than they were with SD card cameras because you stop walking into your hunting area to pull cards, and that matters more than convenience. Every time you walk to a camera, you leave scent, you bump deer, you educate that buck about exactly when humans show up. The cellular camera lets you stay out of the woods and still know what's moving. For a serious hunter, that's not laziness. That's strategy. That's real value. And I'm not going to insult you by pretending the whole category is a fraud. It isn't. But here's where the honest defense falls apart. None of that justifies the annual lock-in you can't escape. None of it justifies per camera billing that quietly stacks to $1,000 a year. None of it justifies a cancellation process so slippery that complaint boards fill up with people who swear they tried. The data costs them money, sure, but the recurring revenue model isn't built around covering the data cost. It's built around the lock-in. It's built around that sub 5% churn. They're not charging you what it costs. They're charging you what you'll tolerate, and then they've engineered the exits to be just hard enough that you tolerate more than you meant to. So let me give you what I promised, the 3 ways to make sure you never pay $1 in the off-season again. And I'm going to give you the 3rd one last because it's the one that breaks the whole machine. Number 1, if you're going to run cellular, run the monthly plan, never the annual. I don't care that the annual saves you a few bucks a month on paper. The monthly plan is the only one you can pause, and the ability to pause is worth more than the discount every time. When the season ends, go into the app and suspend every camera you're pulling. Some brands let you suspend the service and keep the camera tied to your account so you can flip it back on in the fall without rebuying anything. You pay for the 4 or 5 months you actually hunt, and nothing the rest of the year. The hunter who figured this out runs his cameras half the year and suspends them the other half. That alone cuts your annual bill roughly in half. Number 2, use the free tier if the brand has one, and be ruthless about which cameras actually need to be cellular. The most popular brand offers a genuinely free plan. 100 photos a month, no charge, no commitment. For a camera on a low-traffic trail where you just want to know if anything's moving, 100 photos a month is plenty. You do not need an unlimited plan on every camera. Put your paid unlimited plan on the 1 or 2 cameras that matter, the ones on your best funnel, your best food plot, and run the cheap or free tier on the rest. Most hunters are paying for premium data on cameras that photograph a squirrel 40 times a day. Match the plan to the camera's actual job, and your bill drops without losing a thing that matters. And number 3, the one nobody at that counter will ever tell you because it's the one that ends the relationship entirely. For every camera that doesn't truly need to send you a photo in real time, and that's most of them, buy the plain SD card camera. No cellular, no SIM, no app, no monthly anything. You walk out, you pull the card, you walk back. Yes, you leave a little scent. So you check it on a day you're hunting anyway, on your way in or out, and it costs you nothing. For the price of running 8 cellular cameras for a single year, you could buy a stack of quality SD card cameras that will keep working, fee-free, for the next decade. Run cellular only where the real-time photo genuinely changes a decision, and run dumb cameras everywhere else. That's not the setup the industry wants you to have. That's exactly why it's the right one. Now, before you go all the way down that road, 2 things you genuinely need to know, because they're the kind of thing that turns a good plan into an expensive mistake. First, and this one stuns people, there are states where the cellular camera you're paying for every month is illegal to use for hunting at all. Out west especially. Arizona banned cellular trail cameras for taking wildlife years ago, then went further and restricted regular cameras too. Utah passed a law banning trail cameras for taking big game across a big chunk of the year. Nevada, Montana, Kansas, all of them have placed real restrictions on these cameras, some banning the transmitting ones specifically, some banning trail cameras on public land entirely year-round. So picture this. A hunter out west, paying $15 a month, 12 months a year, for a camera that the state has made it illegal for him to use to actually hunt. The bill doesn't care about the law. The bill just keeps coming. Before you build a whole cellular setup, check your state's regulations, because you might be subscribing to something you're not even allowed to point at a deer. Second, the lock-in is deeper than just the monthly fee, and this is the part that makes leaving feel impossible. On most of these systems, your photos don't live on the camera. They live on the company's cloud, and your access to your own photo history is gated behind an active subscription. Stop paying, and that library of every buck you've patterned for the last 2 seasons can go dark. Some of the newer cellular cameras don't even have an SD card slot anymore. There's no card to pull, no local copy, nothing. If the service ends or the camera gets discontinued, you can't fall back to walking out and grabbing the footage by hand, because there's no footage to grab. It only ever existed on their server, behind their paywall. That's not a camera you own. That's a camera you're renting access to your own data through. And it's one more wall they've built so that quitting costs you something you don't want to lose. I want to leave you with one last thing, because there's a bitter irony sitting on top of all of this. Not long ago, there was a federal rule coming, a click-to-cancel rule, that would have forced these companies to make canceling a subscription as easy as signing up for it. 1 click in, 1 click out. It was set to take effect, and then, in the summer of 2025, a federal court struck it down before it ever went live. Killed it. So, right at the exact moment these camera subscriptions are spreading faster than ever, the one protection that would have guaranteed you an easy exit got taken off the table. The sign-up is 1 click. The cancellation is whatever maze they decide to build, and now, legally, it can stay that way. So, here's where I'll leave you. The next time you're standing in front of that wall of cameras, holding the cheap little box, feeling good about the deal, remember that the box is the cheap part. The box was always the cheap part. The camera in your hands isn't the product. You are. And the fees don't stop when the season does. They stop when you make them stop. Now you know the 3 ways to do exactly that.